Think about this for a moment. What if I told you that a species numbering over 600 million worldwide, one of humanity's oldest companions, and the hidden heroes of our ecosystems, vanished overnight? What if this loss would completely upend not just our homes, but our cities, agricultural lands, and even the natural balance that controls disease spread? Today, we're discovering the incredible and frightening chain reaction that would be created by the erasure of cats from the world. Get ready, because the reality is nothing like you'd imagine. Now we continue our documentary with extinct species today. Felis catus, the domestic cat, the world's most popular pet. Currently, there are approximately 600 million domestic cats and close to 100 million stray cats living on the planet. These numbers make cats the world's most widespread domestic mammal after dogs. But most of us see cats merely as cute house companions. Their meows, games, and independent characters entertain us. However, the truth is this: cats, in ways we don't notice, form one of the foundations of modern civilization. So what if you woke up one day and all cats had disappeared? Not just domestic cats, but street cats, wild cats, the entire feline family from African lions to Indian tigers. Does this scenario seem impossible? Perhaps, but when we look at history, we see that mass extinctions of species have occurred. And if such a catastrophe were to happen, the consequences would be devastatingly unimaginable. The place of cats in human history goes back 9,000 years. Archaeological findings show that cats were first domesticated in the Near East during the period when humans began transitioning to agriculture. And this domestication was no coincidence. When humans started storing grain, mice and rats flocked to these stores. This is where cats came into play. Natural mouse hunters, cats found a place for themselves in human settlements, and a mutually beneficial relationship began. In ancient Egypt, cats were considered sacred. The goddess named Batet was a cat-headed goddess, and cats were specially protected in temples. Killing a cat could result in the death penalty. This respect stemmed from the critical role of cats in rodent control. Egypt's grain stores were the lifeblood of civilization, and cats were the guardians protecting this source. In medieval Europe, attitudes toward cats changed. Especially in the 13th and 14th centuries, cats were associated with witchcraft and systematically killed. This became one of history's greatest mistakes. Because with the decline in cat populations, mouse and rat populations exploded. And this rodent explosion accelerated the spread of the Black Death plague that swept through Europe. The fleas carrying the plague found hosts in uncontrollably multiplying mice. The result: approximately 1/3 of Europe's population, or 25 million people, died. This historical lesson painfully reminds us of the importance of cats. But today, in the 21st century, what kind of impact would the absence of cats create? Let's examine this step by step. Cats can hunt 3 to 10 mice or small rodents daily. A street cat's annual hunting count can reach 1,000. Considering there are 600 million domestic cats worldwide, these cats control approximately 200 billion rodents annually. This is an incredible number. When cats disappear, mouse, rat, and other rodent populations would increase uncontrollably. Mice can give birth every 3 weeks and produce 6 to 12 offspring per birth. Mathematically, under ideal conditions, a pair of mice can produce over 2,000 descendants in 1 year. In cities, rodents are already a serious problem. However, thanks to cat control, populations are kept in a certain balance. Without cats, city centers would experience rodent invasions. Restaurants, markets, homes, everywhere would be filled with rodents. Food security would be jeopardized. Stored grains, vegetables, fruits, all would be contaminated or consumed by rodents. According to Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, data, rodents consume or contaminate approximately 5% to 10% of the world's grain production each year. Without cats, this rate could rise to 30%. This means billions of dollars in losses and hunger risk for millions of people. Mice and rats not only consume food, but are also disease carriers. Leptospirosis, hantavirus, salmonella, plague, tularemia. These are just a few of the diseases carried by rodents. Uncontrolled increase in rodent populations exponentially raises the risk of these diseases spreading. For example, hantavirus is transmitted through rodent feces, urine, or saliva and can cause fatal lung failure in humans. Leptospirosis is transmitted through water or soil contaminated with rodent urine and, if untreated, leads to liver and kidney failure. As we've seen in history, the plague epidemic was a direct result of uncontrolled rodent populations. Thanks to modern medicine and antibiotics, plague is treatable today, but the epidemic risk still exists in areas experiencing rodent explosions. In the absence of cats, this risk increases manifold. The World Health Organization, WHO, reports annually that rodent-borne diseases affect millions of people. Without cats, these numbers could rise to tens of millions, even hundreds of millions. Especially in densely populated cities, controlling epidemic diseases would become nearly impossible. Cats play a critical role not only in homes and cities, but also in natural ecosystems. Wildcats keep populations in balance by hunting small mammals, birds, reptiles, and insects. However, the impact of domestic and stray cats is more complex. On one hand, street cats can threaten bird populations in some regions. Some environmentalists claim that cats kill billions of birds annually and harm biodiversity. This criticism is valid to some extent. However, on the other hand, without cats, the explosion of rodent and pest populations would pose a greater threat to birds and other small animals. Rodents consume bird eggs and chicks. Additionally, by excessively consuming plant seeds and insects, they disrupt the food chain in the ecosystem. In the absence of cats, as rodents multiply, food sources for birds and other small animals decrease and competition increases. Furthermore, big cats, lions, tigers, leopards, cheetahs, occupy the apex of their natural ecosystems. These large predators control herbivore populations, preventing overgrazing and protecting vegetation. In the absence of big cats, herbivore populations increase uncontrollably, leading to overgrazing, erosion, and habitat loss. For example, in African savannas without lions, buffalo, zebra, and antelope populations would explode. These animals would completely consume grasslands, accelerate desertification, and destroy the habitats of other species. The entire ecosystem would collapse. In agricultural areas, rodents are the greatest pests. Mice and rats consume grain, fruit, vegetables, and other crops, contaminate their stores, and spread disease. The presence of cats provides natural pest control in agricultural areas. Without cats, farmers would become more dependent on chemical pesticides. This increases costs, harms the environment, and jeopardizes food safety. Additionally, rodent populations that develop resistance to chemical pesticides form, making control even more difficult. The economic loss would be enormous. According to United Nations estimates, the economic value of rodent control provided by cats is around $100 billion annually. This value includes factors such as food protection, disease prevention, and infrastructure damage reduction. Rodents also damage infrastructure by gnawing on electrical cables, water pipes, and building foundations. Fires, floods, and structural collapses are consequences of this damage. In the absence of cats, infrastructure maintenance costs would reach astronomical levels. Cats are not just animals for humans. They are family members, friends, and sources of emotional support. Research shows that cat owners experience less stress, have better mental health, and experience reduced feelings of loneliness. The sudden loss of cats would be a deep trauma for millions of people, especially for the elderly, those living alone, and individuals experiencing mental health issues. Cats are vitally important. A person who loses their cat grieves as if they've lost a family member. The disappearance of all cats would create a global wave of grief. Cat content on social media is an indispensable part of internet culture. Cat videos, photos, and memes are viewed and shared billions of times. The absence of cats would leave a huge void in digital culture. Additionally, cat cafes, cat festivals, and cat-themed products create a multi-billion-dollar industry. The collapse of this industry would mean not only economic losses, but also cultural loss. Cats play an important role in scientific research. In fields such as genetics, behavioral science, neurology, and veterinary medicine, cats are used as model organisms. studying cats provides critical information about human health. For example, certain genetic diseases in cats are studied to understand similar diseases in humans. The Cat Genome Project shows parallels with the Human Genome Project and provides important data for evolutionary biology. The absence of cats would cause these studies to halt and scientific progress to slow. Additionally, accumulated knowledge and experience about cats would be lost, and future generations would be deprived of this resource. Cats have been part of human culture for thousands of years. Art, literature, mythology, and religion. Cats have left their mark in every field. From ancient Egypt to Japanese Munekiniko, from the prophet's cat Moetza in Islamic culture to modern pop culture, cats are everywhere. The disappearance of cats means that part of this cultural heritage loses its meaning. Future generations would struggle to understand cat depictions in ancient works. Cat references in historical texts would become meaningless. Cultural continuity would be disrupted. Additionally, in many languages and cultures, there are idioms, proverbs, and expressions related to cats. Expressions like fighting like cats and dogs, cat and mouse game, 9 lives, are used in daily language. The absence of cats would reduce the richness of language. Alternative methods would have to be developed to provide rodent control without cats. However, all of these methods are problematic. Chemical pesticides, harmful to the environment, affect other animals too, create resistant rodent populations. Traps and poisons, labor-intensive, costly, can kill non-target species. Other predator animals like weasels, martens, snakes can be used as rodent hunters. However, these are not domesticated, difficult to control, and can create other problems in ecosystems. Genetic modifications. Methods like releasing sterile rodent populations are theoretically possible, but involve ethical issues and unpredictable ecological effects. Robotic predators. Technological solutions might be possible in the distant future, but aren't realistic right now. In conclusion, no solution to replace cats can fully fulfill their natural, sustainable, and multifaceted role. If a catastrophic scenario like the extinction of cats were to occur, world countries would engage in unprecedented cooperation. The United Nations, World Health Organization, FAO, and other international organizations would develop emergency action plans. A global mobilization for rodent control would be initiated. Military and civilian resources would be mobilized. Scientists, engineers, and politicians would work day and night to find solutions. However, the success of these efforts is not guaranteed. Global pandemics, food shortages, and economic collapse would spread rapidly. Social unrest, refugee crises, and even conflicts could emerge. Fortunately, this scenario is currently theoretical. Not all cats are at risk of simultaneous extinction. However, this thought experiment reminds us how important cats are. Protecting cats is critical not just because we love them, but for our survival. Ensuring cat welfare, vaccinating street cats, conducting sterilization programs, and protecting wild cat habitats are all our responsibilities. Additionally, we must develop balanced approaches to issues like cat-bird conflicts. Keeping cats indoors, using leashes, and responsible ownership contribute to protecting both cats and wildlife. Cats have been with us for 9,000 years. They are not just animals, they are partners in our civilization. Losing them wouldn't just mean losing our cute friends, but losing ecosystem balance, public health, and our economic stability. Felis catus, the domestic cat. In every corner of the world, in our homes, on our streets, and in our hearts. They are such a familiar presence that imagining their absence is difficult. But this thought experiment reminds us of an important truth. Nature is balanced, and every species, no matter how small or ordinary it seems, is part of this balance. The extinction of cats would create a chain catastrophe. Rodent invasion, disease outbreaks, food crisis, economic collapse, and social trauma all would trigger each other. And perhaps the most painful loss would be the silence of those soft meows, purrs, and tiny paws. What do you think would be the greatest loss if cats disappeared from the world? The breaking of our emotional bonds, or the loss of their practical roles? If cats didn't exist, could our modern civilization have reached its current state? Share your thoughts with us in the comments. If you enjoyed this documentary, please don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Because in upcoming episodes, We'll discover the effects of other species' extinctions and learn together how fragile nature is. Until we meet in the next episode of Extinct Species Today, stay respectful to nature, loving to animals.